Congressman, there's been a lot of talk from your colleagues about ZTE and whether or not next week in the NDAA the lawmakers will keep restrictions on ZTE in it. What do you make of this?
We absolutely must keep restrictions on the products that this company sells. There is clear evidence that these products, these cell phones, other products, are a direct conduit of information back to China. No way, no how should anybody in the military ever get their hands on these phones, and if they have them, they ought to toss them away.
So why did President Trump make this decision then?
I think there's some very nefarious reasons why he did. I think there's two. One may be some sense of negotiations with China on trade deals. In other words, giving up our national security in exchange for a trade deal. I don't think so. The other is $500 million. Within days of his decision to make China great again by sending American jobs or increasing jobs in China, an organization in which he's deeply involved in Indonesia, received a $500 million loan so that project can go forward. What's one of the major elements in the project? Well, let's see. A Trump golf course, a Trump hotel, and Trump condos and apartments. There's something really rotten here. Okay,
but the administration would say that's not the case, and that they would say that this is potentially a way to lure the North Koreans to denuclearize by saying, we'll provide some infrastructure from the U.S. as well as China on telecommunications, on other infrastructure investment, and that by doing this, this is really wrapped up to North Korea as well.
Is this the same Trump administration that has been blasting the Obama administration because the Obama administration, the nuclear deal, would give Iran an upper hand on economic growth, and now they want to give North Korea an upper hand on economic growth and do it with a telecommunication company that we believe and have evidence that they are engaged in espionage with our military because of using their phones? I don't think so. There's something terribly, terribly wrong with this whole thing.
And then, just procedurally speaking, Congressman, should lawmakers such as Chairman Thornberry, who has said that these restrictions will likely still be included in the NDAA, but should that happen, can President Trump still use the Commerce Department to get around this?
No, not with regard to cell phone and other equipment sales to the U.S. military.
Walk me through that procedurally.
Well, the U.S. military has two different ways of dealing with this. One, on the base, the commissaries on the base have previously sold ZTE phones. We now have evidence that the Chinese government is able to use those phones to collect data from those people that have purchased the phones. So, no, that equipment will not be sold on base. Secondly, the military can instruct all of its civilian and enlisted and officers to dump trash, otherwise throw in the ocean, their ZTE phones, because they are a conduit of information back to China.
And final question, as a congressman in a region where tech is so crucially important to the economy, the supply chain of ZTE does impact some U.S. businesses, Qualcomm, for example. What do you make of those who would argue that the supply chain benefit from lifting these restrictions might help U.S. businesses?
Well, first of all, there's no limit to corporate greed. But let's be real here. This is about America. In many cases, this is about national security. And so if we're banning the use of those phones or the sale of those phones by our military, that's all about national security. And I care about Qualcomm. I've known them for decades now. Great company, a great California company. Make their money some other way.